Welcome to this session on inventory management once again. Now we have talked about what are the objectives of inventory management, what are the various kinds of demand in inventory. There is a dependent demand inventory items, there are independent demand inventory items. We are now going to dwell more on the various kinds of costs in inventory. So costs in inventory, for example, we are saying that inventory costs may vary from 28% to 32% of the total cost. Apart from material costs, several other costs are also involved in inventory. So these are ordering costs, holding costs or carrying costs, stock out costs. So we'll be talking about them one by one. Now, see, when 35% of the costs are involved in inventory, definitely it will create an alarm bells in the minds of the management and in the production heads. If you are incurring more costs in inventory, so overall it is going to make your finished products very costly. So therefore, studying the various costs is very essential. Now, for example, when we talk about ordering costs or procuring cost. So ordering cost means what is the cost to order. So for example, I'll just draw an analogy from your day-to-day lives. Let us say you want to order some items for your homes, for your kitchen. So for example, if you order, say, rice, so you are ordering half kg rice and you have a family of 4 people. So how much time this half kg will last? So every second day you will have to order half kg rice. So for example, just assume that the shop where this rice is available is not nearby. So every time you have to travel and you have to bring that rice. So you have to calculate what is the time spent in going, what is the fuel you have spent to go and buy this half kg rice every second day. So this will be very costly. So that is ordering cost. On the other hand, if you order say 50 kgs of rice or 100 kgs of rice for a family of 4 people, then you need a storage space. And suppose you are living in a small flat, so it will be very difficult to find a space to keep that 100 kg of rice. So therefore, there is another cost associated if you order more. So ordering cost, now we see from this slide, so what are the ordering and procuring costs? So number 1, stationery costs, travel costs, clerical and processing, salary, rentals, which is there on the slide, postage, telephone mails, tendering, advertisement costs, processing of bills, staff work in preparing specifications, expediting orders, receiving materials, inspection and documentation. So these are some of the examples of ordering or procuring cost. For example, now consider this scenario when a business house is ordering for the materials in their factory. So they have to write mails, they have to invite quotations from the public. So there are letters which they have to send, couriers, and many times there are large industries or government. They have to issue advertisement in the newspaper. They have to issue tenders. They have to invite quotations. So these are all costs. Then as I said, sometimes one has to travel within the city or outside the city to buy certain materials, to talk to the suppliers. So that is why there are processing costs, there are office costs. Then you have a full-fledged purchase department in businesses. So you have to pay the salaries of those people. So there are telephone expenses, email expenses, tendering expenses to, as I said, you have to advertise in the newspaper for the tenders. So there are advertisement cost, tendering cost, postage cost. Then the more orders you give, if you give small orders, so there will be more processing of bills, more clerical and administrative work will be there. Then every time you have to order, you have to prepare the specifications of the material which you require. Then every time you have to expedite the orders. Then somebody should be there to receive the materials every time. In your homes also, if you are ordering small materials, so every time you have to receive those materials. Every time there will be a bell at your door and you have to receive. So there is extra effort which is done. So think in the terms of businesses. You have to do inspection of the materials so many times and a lot of documentation are there. So these are some of the ordering costs or procuring cost. The cost which is involved in procuring the items or ordering of the items. Now there are second type of main costs which are known as holding costs or carrying costs. So what are holding and carrying costs? So for example, if you are ordering materials, you have to have a space, you have to have, for example, warehouses where you will be keeping the materials. You have to take care of those materials. So for example, we will see on this slide some of the examples. Storage space, you have to sometimes pay rent on that, or you have to have capital employed to build or buy warehouse spaces, insurance, handling, freight, transportation, then deterioration, obsolescence. So either you have taken the space on rent, so you are paying rent, or you have involved your capital to build spaces, to build warehouses, to build godowns. So that is also capital involved in it. Then the more materials you have, the more insurance premium you have to pay. Then there are more handling costs, more transportation, more freight you have to pay. Then there is also chances that if you buy more materials, for example, I gave this example, if you order, says more material, some of the materials have expiry date. So they will expire or they will become obsolete or they will deteriorate. With the passage of the time, the same quality will not remain. The food item, for example, becomes stale. Then there are other examples of holding and carrying cost which we will see from the slide. Material handling equipment and maintenance, stock taking, supervision, security, salaries and documentation, capital blocked, that is interest or opportunity cost, quality control. So you will have to have more material handling equipments to store the materials, to move the material from one place to the other. Then every time there should be some supervisors for stock taking. A lot of documentation is involved and quality control also has to be maintained for the stocks which are there in the godowns. Now, why holding costs increase? Here you are seeing more units must be stored if more are ordered. So for example, holding cost increase if you have more materials, you have to have more space, you have to spend more on material handling equipments, you have to spend more on its maintenance, more will be the depreciation and so on. So the holding cost increase if you have more materials. If the quantity is more, the holding cost will increase. Then why order cost decrease? So if you order, for example, here we have given example, suppose you give one order and we have just taken assume one example that some business is ordering one microwave oven. Let's say this business is of a retail shop. So this retail shop is ordering one microwave oven. So this retail shop is thinking that once one microwave oven gets sold, then he will buy another one. So for example, the postage cost, we have just taken for simplicity's sake that for ordering one microwave oven, it takes 50 rupees postage, courier charges. So if he orders 1000 times, so there will be 50 into 1000. So the cost of even courier itself will be 50,000. So that means ordering cost decrease when the order quantity is more. Then there are stock out costs. Stock out means the material have got stocked out, that means the material is not there and for want of material the production is at the standstill. So here we are writing loss of business, profit, market, goodwill. So additional expenditure due to urgency of purchases, traveling expenses at short notice, purchases at a premium, high transport and freight charges, loss of labor hours. So these are stock out costs. So if you do not have inventory, so these will be the costs. So many times you will have to buy a material at a premium rate. So even at the last moment, if you have to catch a flight to your supplier's place, the charges will be very high. So these are all the costs associated: carrying cost, ordering cost, stock out costs. So total costs, we call them total stocking cost. So the sum of these two costs, especially ordering cost and carrying cost, is known as total stocking cost. When plotted against order quantity, the total stocking cost TSC decreases to a minimum cost and then increases. This cost behavior is the basis for answering the first fundamental question, that is, how much to order. So we will see from a graph how these two costs behave, how the ordering cost behave and how the carrying cost behave, and how then the total cost is arrived, and what should be the minimum level or the optimum level at which we have to order. So you will see on this slide, on x-axis we are showing the quantity order, and on y-axis we are showing you the cost. So first of all, there is a straight line which is showing you the carrying cost. So which is showing that the more quantity you order, the more will be the carrying cost. That is, the more is the space cost, insurance cost, quality control cost, maintenance cost, etc. That is carrying cost or holding costs. Whereas there is another graph which is showing you the procuring cost or the ordering cost. So as we have discussed earlier, the ordering cost will be more if you order less quantity. If you order more quantity, the procuring cost or the ordering cost reduces. So you are seeing this graph that first of all, at less quantity the procuring cost or the ordering cost is more, but it is getting reduced. Now the point where these two lines are intersecting, that is the carrying cost and the procuring cost. So this point, and then you are also seeing a hyperbola kind of thing. So this is indicating the total cost. So the total cost minimum and the point where these two graphs are intersecting, that is the optimum point. So this point, at any point of time you should order this much quantity. So this quantity is known as EOQ, or in other words it is known as economic order quantity. So at this point, the carrying costs is equal to the ordering cost, because if you order more, the carrying costs are increasing, although the ordering costs are decreasing, but the carrying cost is increasing. If you order less, the carrying cost is less, but the ordering cost is more. So this point at the middle where the two lines are intersecting and the total cost is also, you can see it is minimum. So this is the economic order quantity. So at any point of time we have to order this much quantity. You can see from the another graph also the same thing, that straight line is showing you the carrying cost, and then there is the ordering cost, and then there is the total cost, and the point where the two lines, ordering cost line and the carrying cost line, are intersecting is the minimum point, which is also being shown the minimum point in the total cost. So that is why we are saying you have to balance carrying cost against the ordering costs. So therefore this is a very, very important model, and in the subsequent session we will also study how to have a derivation of this economic order quantity and to derive the formula of economic order quantity. So given a situation, we can calculate that what is the economic order quantity at any point of time, that the quantity which we have to order. So at that point, the overall costs will be the minimum costs. So now we will just talk about various kinds of inventory categories. We will be talking about various kinds of inventory classifications. So which is again a very important point. So we will again show you this slide. So classification of materials for inventory control. Now there are various classification. Number one classification is ABC classification. where the criteria is annual value of consumption of the item. Then there is VED, vital, essential, desirable, so critical nature of the components with respect to products. HML, high price, medium price, low price, that is unit price of the material. FSN, issue from the store, fast moving items, slow moving items or non moving items. Then we have on the slide STE, where the criteria is purchasing problems with regard to availability. SOS, season, off season. Golf, will be just seeing them one by one, channel for procuring the material. XYZ, sourcing based on predictability of demand. So number one, we will be talking about, first of all, the ABC classification system. ABC, this school of thought says that there are three categories of materials in any business. So first category is A category, then B category and C category. So for example, we will see on this slide which are A items. A items are 15% of the items in volume are of the highest value and their inventory accounts for 70% value of the total. 70 to 80% also you can say of the total. Then B items, 20% of the items in volume are of the intermediate value and their inventory accounts for 20% value of the total. Then there are C items, that is 65% remaining of the items in volume are of lowest value and their inventory accounts for the relatively small balance, that is 10% of the value. So what does this mean? See, there are some items which are A class items whose volumes in terms of quantity there will be very less, say just 15% of the total items of your total inventory. So it is 15 to 20% in terms of quantity, in terms of volume, but in terms of value they will comprise 70 to 80% of the value. Then there are C class items. C class items are, in terms of quantity, they would be 65 to 75% in terms of quantity, but in terms of value, in terms of cost, they will be hardly 10 to 15%. So this model says that don't go after the quantity, don't go after the volume, see the value of the item. So you have to take care more of the items which are of more value, that is A class items. They may be less in the quantity, but they comprise 70 to 80% of your price. So there is a saying, famous saying, that penny wise and pound foolish. So sometimes, many industries, they keep on saving money in small items, in staple pins, in pens, in small stationery, which may be procured in large quantity, but in terms of overall value, their value is less. But there are, say, some high value items, high value inventories, and there they are not, taking care. So that approach has to be followed. So in this slide, you can see that there are three kinds of materials, A, B and C. So A, in terms of quantity, you are seeing, small column, but in terms of value, they are very high. Then there are B class item and C class item. In terms of quantity, they are huge, but in terms of value, they are very less. So very important item should be A class items and the least important item should be C class item. So even when you are talking about EOQ, economic order quantity, it is more important in A class items. In C class item, you can order more also, it doesn't matter, because the value is very small. So the company should not spend all their efforts and energy and money in C items. Rather, they should spend more time and energy in A item, because that comprises the major cost. So as you can see, A items are costly item. They require proper storage and handling, and you should avoid overstocking. B items, they are neither costly nor cheap, so they need moderate control. Whereas C class items are cheap items, low cost value items, so they do not need any control and are given least attention. So in inventory management, these things are very essential. In your day-to-day lives also, you can follow these things. Now we come to another classification called VED classification. So V stands for vital, E stands for essential, D stands for desirable. So that is vital items without which the activities will come to a halt. E essential, items which are likely to cause disruption of the normal activity. D desirable, in the absence of which the business work does not get hampered. So let me give you a small example from your day-to-day lives about this. See, vital item, for example, in your everyday life, in your kitchen, let's say cylinder, the gas cylinder, the LPG gas cylinder from which you cook your food, that is a vital item. So if at any point of time, if you have only one cylinder and the gas is finished, then your kitchen comes to a standstill. So it's a very vital item. So you should have another, say, cylinder in a spare cylinder with you. So, and you cannot afford to miss that, not to get the gas filled. So it is very vital. Essential item. For example, you have 3-4 rooms in your house. In one of the room, you do not have any spare bulb or spare tube light. So in one of the room, the bulb gets fused. So in that particular room, you are not able to replace that bulb. So it was essential, but still you can, it is causing disruption to your normal activity. But it's not so vital, you can sit in another room in the meanwhile, although it has disrupted your normal life. Then D desirable, you wanted some special bulbs in your homes. So that special bulb is not there, ordinary bulbs are there, so it was desirable, but it is not hampering your day-to-day life. So similarly, in industries also, in large businesses also, there are materials which are vital, essential and desirable. So when you are following the inventory management system, inventory control, so you have to take more care for vital items and then second care for essential, and maybe for desirable items, if that depth management is not there, it will work. Then there is a third classification, that is called HML classification. So based on the unit value in terms of rupees of items. So it is very similar to ABC analysis. H stands for high value items, M for medium value, L for low value items. So it is based on unit value of items. The item should be listed in decreasing order of unit value, and management may fix limits for deciding the 3 categories. So just like we studied in ABC analysis, so here this is another school of thought. So they have given another acronym for that. So there are some high value items, then there are some low value items. So as we said earlier, high value items should be given more concentration, should be given more attention, and inventory models, EOQ models, safety stock models, reorder point models should be applied more to the high value items than to the low value items. Then we have another classification which is called FSN classification. Takes into account the distribution and handling patterns of items from stores, important when obsolescence is to be controlled. F stands for fast moving items, S slow moving, N non moving. Maybe a change in technology or an item is no longer in use. At such time, information must be given to managers so that they can act on it. For example, it's a business of a retail. So it's a retail departmental store. So as a retailer, you must know which of my items are fast moving items, which of the items are slow moving items, and which items are non moving items. So they come, when you purchase them, they occupy a shelf and they don't move. So accordingly, when you are ordering, it doesn't mean that you will order, you will apply all these inventory models. So you will apply the inventory models more on your fast moving items. So there will be a different strategy for all of these models. Fast moving will have different strategies, non moving items will have different strategy. Maybe next time you will not order those materials which are non moving items. So you will order less quantity for slow moving items, you will order more quantity for fast moving items. Then there is another classification called SDE classification, based on the lead time analysis and availability. S stands for scarce, it has got longer lead time. D difficult, long lead time. E easy, reasonable lead time. Now while ordering materials, you have to also see some materials which are very scarce. So it takes very long time when you order them, it takes probably some months to procure those materials. So they are very scarce. Then some materials are difficult. They also take long time, but little lesser than the scarce material. And some materials are readily available, so easy, so reasonable lead time. For example, if you are living in an area, I am drawing an analogy from your day-to-day lives. You are living in an area where you have shops just near your house. You get out of your house and you can buy those materials. So you can have different strategy for them. Whereas there are some items for which you have to travel, say 10 kilometers. So for that you will have to have different strategy, that how much materials you have to order. Then there are items called, there is another classification called SOS classification, seasonal, off-seasonal. Some items are seasonal in nature and hence require special purchasing and stocking strategies. EOQ formula cannot be applied in these cases, so inventories at the time of procurement will be extremely high. So there are some items which are seasonal. For example, if you talk about in India, mango is available in the summer season, that too in a month span of 2-3 months. So it is a seasonal item. So if you want to procure them in off season, it will be very difficult, it will be scarce, and it will be very costly also. So accordingly you have to make your strategies. Then there is a classification called GOLF. G stands for government, O for ordinary, L for local, F for foreign. Some materials can be procured from the government. Some materials are ordinary, they can be, or local, you can purchase them from the local markets, and some materials you have to purchase from foreign markets. So accordingly your strategy will depend. You have to see what is the lead time in ordering those materials. Then there is another classification called XYZ classification. XYZ classification means X stands for very low fluctuations, easy to predict demand. X are characterized by consistent sales over time. Future demand can be reliably forecast. Y, goods, some fluctuations are there, that is predictability on average. And then there are Z type of goods that they have the greatest variation, that is difficult to predict. So accordingly, there are classification called X. So X goods, it's easy to predict that yes, what will be the demand. Z goods are there, which is very difficult, that what will be the demand. So accordingly, your strategies for inventory management, your strategies, how much to order, when to order, what will be the time when the materials will be procured will be different. So I hope you have understood overall the importance of inventory management, various classifications of inventories, and the various costs called carrying costs, ordering cost, economic order quantity. In the subsequent sessions, we are going to understand EOQ, reorder point, through mathematical models, and I hope till then you will be studying these topics from the textbooks also. So thank you so much.